As runners, we all challenge ourselves in ways we never thought possible, pushing the boundaries of what we're capable of to smash through targets and set ourselves new, bigger and better ones.
This awesome hobby that we share gives us one thing in common, and it brings us together as a community. Whether you're working towards completing your first parkrun or you're a veteran of the sport who's run 100 ultra marathons, we all know the feeling of reaching that maxed out effort and our own red line.
Welcome to our podcast, where your hosts Brett Elesmore and Andy Maguire discuss the struggles, the successes and everything in between on our running journeys, as we all work towards the next time we're running the red line. Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Running the Red Line. We are here again on a Friday recording for you all. A little bit later than we expected, but we'll get into that in a second. I am Brett and I am here as always with my co-host Andy. How are you doing this week, mate?
I'm all right. Yeah, I feel strangely quite good, and I think I know the reason why. Because the last few weeks I've been putting midweek long runs in because I've had races on, and I haven't done any long runs so far this week, and I think that's maybe why I'm feeling sprightly. But there's a reason, like we just said, there's a reason for that, and it's a big reason is because what we're both doing tomorrow.
Yes. So actually, if you're feeling sprightly, that's probably perfect for tomorrow.
Yeah. I think sprightly is probably a bit keen, actually. We'll see how we feel tomorrow morning at 7:00 when I see you in the car. But it's we'll see. We'll see. Having said that, I am constantly aching as always, but I'm actually looking forward to this weekend. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we were going to record a little earlier today, but I have been absolutely flat out at work, so I kept on sending Andy messages saying, can we push back recording a little bit? Can we push it back a little bit more, please? So we're actually recording at the normal time, even though we planned to do it about 3 hours earlier, but never mind. So shall we tell them what we are doing tomorrow?
We've got a race. Well, it's the race that's not a race that is a race.
Yeah. So, tomorrow we are down in Gloucester in a place called Berkeley, and we are doing the Fission 20-mile race. So,
not to be confused with the Barkley marathons. That's something very different.
Very different. That's actually happening right now, yeah.
This is the Berkeley. Yeah, this is Berkeley.
Yeah, this is in Berkeley, yes, because we've got a couple of Berks running, that's why. But it's the Fission 20 miler. So it's going to be my longest run of the whole block. And at the end of this weekend, I have reached end of peak. So this is my peak week right now, where I will hit my highest mileage. So tomorrow is going to be my longest run. But although it's a race, I am going to do it as a progression run and do it as a bit of training rather than, ruining myself over a 20-mile race and then 3 weeks later trying to run a marathon. What's your plan for tomorrow?
I think I'll just decide on the start line tomorrow and then probably completely change it halfway through the race, like usual. I don't know. I know what I should do and I know what I probably will do. But this is the thing, though. I think this is the first race I've entered maybe ever where I'm not really going to be bothered about trying, famous last words, about trying to do all the usual racy stuff, like trying to reel people in or trying to gain confidence from people that are heavily breathing around me, that sort of thing. I'm just going to try and run my own race and treat it as a training run. And like you said, for me, this will be my longest run straight through of the block. This will be in Ks, be 32K. So I'm thinking of working some marathon pace into it because I'm 2 weeks behind you. I've got an extra
Yeah.
2 weeks than you do. So on Saturday, that's another thing that's difficult. It's a Saturday, not a Sunday race.
Yeah.
And we
That's
don't do our long
playing
runs
with
on a Saturday.
No, it's playing with my head, to be honest.
Yeah.
You feel very different on a Saturday to what you do on a Sunday. And Sunday is race day, Sunday is long run day.
Yeah.
But to change that to a Saturday, it's a bit strange. I'm used to doing like club races on a Saturday, but it's never a 20-mile race. Actually, I'm a bit gutted because I didn't realise when I booked this Fission 20-miler, but tomorrow is the 12-stage road relays. So everyone's going to be over in Sutton Coldfield in the park doing the road relays. But I am going to be down in Gloucester instead. So a little bit gutted that I'm missing those because the road relays are great fun. But yeah, I think the 20-miler for marathon training is a bit more important.
Is there one of those every year? Or is it twice a year or?
So it's twice a year, but there's a 12-stage in spring. So the 12 stage has 6 long stages, which are about 10K, just over, and 6 short stages, which are just over 5K. And basically it's a relay. So the first runner sets off, does their long leg. When they reach the finish line, the second runner sets off and does their long leg. And I think all 6 long legs are done first and then the 6 short legs. And it's the cumulative time for the whole team that wins or like positions for the team. So there's a 12-stage. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, is it a bit like you draw the short straw if you get one of the long ones?
Well, one of the longer, the long legs are a lot more difficult, but they tend to nominate themselves. People who want to do the long leg say, I'll do a long leg. But yeah, the 12 stages in spring, and then in autumn is the 6 stage where it's all short legs. So it's all just over 5K. So, and there's only 6 in a team. So yeah, that one's great fun.
That sounds fun.
It's basically just run as fast as you can for just over 5K and then pass over to the next person who's going to do exactly the same and put it all on the line for the club. So,
and did you say it's looped, or could you have a really difficult section of the course compared to somebody else? Is it all
of them are exactly the same loop?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So the start and the finish is in exactly the same place, but the finish is up a hill. So the finish straight is it's a sprint, but uphill. So it's a good way to finish the race. But so where the finish line is, the start line is about probably 5 meters away. And when the first leg goes off, all the second leg people stand in a pen. And when their runner, so their first leg runner is running up the hill, they call out your number and you go and stand on the start line. So as soon as they cross the finish line, they let you go.
I see.
Like instantly. But you're stood in a pen basically at the side of the finish line, waiting for your runner to come up the hill. So pretty much everyone's on their tiptoes trying to look over each other to try and see people running up the hill.
That must be quite a good sort of atmosphere. Are you all waiting in the wings for your time to go?
It's so good. It's so good. It's great fun. Yeah. And the team camaraderie is really good as well, because obviously in the 12 stage, it's a bit harder to get more than one team together. But the 6 stage, we normally have 2 or maybe 3 teams, and it's really good. Like, obviously, there's a bit of competition between the teams, but we normally have an A team and a B team and a C team. So we have all of our fastest runners in the A team. So they're just flying. And then we have a B team and C team. So you sort of know the times. What, sorry?
Would you be in the A team?
No.
Oh, really?
Nowhere near.
So would you say you're nowhere near the fastest then in your club? Is there a lot?
Oh, absolutely nowhere close.
Yeah. Really? That is interesting. I thought you were one of the top boys.
No. In my age group, yes. Yeah. But in the club, nowhere near. No, there's lads who are absolutely flying. Yeah.
Is it the whippersnappers, the ones who are in their early 20s?
Yeah, it's the ones who are at university at the moment, and they're flying, and then early 20s, and then there's some lads in their early 30s as well who are flying. But there's some older guys as well who are in my age group who are just as quick. I mean, in the cross country season this year, we had a new guy join the club who's in my age group, and he was up the front. He was like first and second in the Masters. In all of the legs during the cross country. So he was in like top 20, top 30 of the actual race.
Yeah.
And top in their Masters.
Wow. That's mental. That's crazy. Does it matter, doesn't it? Age is just a number, isn't it?
It is very much so, yes.
Yeah.
Every year I turn 21 again. I know that much.
Yeah, I'm showing my age by saying words like whippersnappers. I was going to say, going back to the race tomorrow, I tell you what, I'm interested to see how you get on, is because the elevation on this course, you could probably measure it on like one hand in feet. Apparently it is really quite flat.
Oh, is it really? I didn't know that. That's awesome. Okay.
So I was going to get your thoughts on that, because I know that you're a bit of a sucker for punishment and you quite enjoy some hills underneath your feet, but apparently it's quite a flat 2-loop course tomorrow.
Nice. Okay. I do love the hills, and I like to put hills into my training. But as Manchester is really flat, apart from the hill. Yes, I know. Hands up, it is a hill.
You've wilted.
Yeah. So the other than the hill at Altrincham, it's flat, Manchester. So with this being flat, it will be a good guide to how I run the race up in Manchester.
Yeah. Did you say you're going to do it as a 5 mile, so 20 mile divided by 4, and you're going to do 5 mile blocks?
That's what I've got set in my head. Yes. So I'm going to set out 45 seconds slower than marathon pace and drop 15 seconds a mile every 5 mile.
Yeah.
So what's that? 7:25 a mile for the first block, then 7:10, 6:55, and then 6:40.
Yeah. Yeah. And are you going to cross your heart and hope to die that you're going to try and not go off too fast?
Oh, yeah. I'm 100%. I am not going off too fast. No way. Not on a 20-miler.
I wonder if there's going to be, the vast majority of people tomorrow doing exactly the same. Treating this 20-mile race as if it were just a normal Sunday long run on a Saturday, but like just going out there just to sort of not like a fartlek, but just try and play with a little bit of pace and try and get a bit of control at different points of the race.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's a lot of people. I mean, how else would people 20-mile races as a huge thing, I guess, for anyone to do a marathon, aren't they? So
yeah. So I'm interested to see how people structure their run tomorrow. So if they are training for a spring marathon, are they going to do it progressive like me, or are they going to do it like a normal training run where you do a few miles up and then do on-off miles or blocks of marathon pace or whatever? Because it'll be really interesting. If people are doing it differently, we'll constantly be passing over and it'd be strange
because there'll be some people like me doing Newport, which is 5 weeks away. Mm-hmm. Then there'll be some people like you doing Manchester, which is 3 weeks away. And then there's some people doing London, which is 4 weeks away. And so
Brighton is 2 weeks away.
Oh, Brighton, which is 2 weeks away, or Paris, yeah. So I wonder if some people are going to be taking it super cautiously, and some people can almost afford a couple of mistakes tomorrow. I mean, it's a training run. We can all afford to make mistakes, but it's going to be quite. Yeah, I think you said it the last podcast. It's going to be a really good indicator of where you are going into the marathon, isn't it? And where your fitness is so far, and you should, whatever happens tomorrow, I guess you shouldn't, if it goes badly, this is what I'm telling myself. I don't want to read too much into it if it does go badly, because I was speaking to someone I know from Worcester Pitchcroft Parkrun called Kieran Kieran Deegan, who's probably shooting for a similar time that you are at Manchester, who's doing Manchester, who's also doing tomorrow's 20 miler. And he's had Manchester's and, spring marathons before, where this 20-mile race has gone terribly. He's been shooting and aiming for sub 3, and he's either made a mess of it or he's felt really bad, or it's just not gone to plan. But, the dress rehearsal went badly, but the main event went well. So yeah, I'm holding on to that. It's almost like I'm trying to take a double positive out of it. If it goes well, brilliant. If it doesn't go well, lessons learned.
Yeah. But that's exactly what a dress rehearsal's for, isn't it? So you can make mistakes and learn from them when it comes to the big day and the big performance. So
you excited for your new shoes?
I am, yeah. Yes,
yeah.
I am. Yeah, I haven't taken them out of the box since I got them. So nice. I'm going to be getting them on feet and lacing them up and making sure they're right tonight before I go to bed.
Yes, nice. I wore my Adios Pro 3s around the living room the other day just because I was really excited, because I haven't worn them. The last time I put them on my feet before last week around the lounge was the Yorkshire Marathon, which would have been the second week of October, I think. I literally haven't worn them since then because I want them to be a race day shoe. And I wanted that for my Vaporfly, actually. I wanted them to only be for races. But I just started wearing them for speedy stuff, and then all of a sudden I'd wear them for parkruns and stuff, and before I knew it, I was wearing them once a week, and so the novelty sort of wore off, and I just felt like I lost that extra couple of percent when I would wear them for races. So that's why I'm trying to be strict with myself, and I'm going to keep these sexy purple Adios Pro 3s as race day marathon shoes only. Probably, maybe not even half marathon, maybe marathon shoes only. So I'll probably still have them in about 25 years. So I probably only would have done 300 mile in by then. Yeah. But yeah, that's the plan. Not to overuse them and just use them for race day. So,
See, I mean, I have used my other pair that I ran in Manchester for other things, but I haven't overly used them. I've used them for a few training runs and used them for a few races and stuff. But they've just got a few too many mile on for me to think that they were going to be as poppy and as bright as I know they are when they're new. So just that mental thing, as well as the actual performance from the shoe. It makes you feel good, doesn't it? It always makes you feel good putting new stuff on. So hopefully that mental thing will work, and it'll be a bit like a placebo, as well as the actual foam and the rods working with me.
Have you got a what's the old Apple guy called, the one who was like the founder of Apple? Yeah, have you got like a Steve Jobs approach to your race day where you wear the same thing every race? So do you know what you're wearing tomorrow, or do you definitely know what you're already wearing for Manchester, and will you wear that tomorrow?
Pretty much, yes. The only debate that's going through my head is, do I use my tried and tested and trusty singlet, which is like the singlet I use for all my important races when I want to do well, or do I mix it up and go for a newer one that I bought at the running show?
Well, are you talking about your sort of faded black charcoal leopard print Adidas one, the famous one?
It's a cheetah print. That's
cheetah print. Wow, it's not even leopard print.
Makes me faster, doesn't it?
Even faster, yes. It's all psychological, yeah. I mean, that's pretty famous, isn't it? That's pretty legendary.
So I don't. I'm thinking I'll wear that because it is my lucky vest. It's done me well in a lot of races, but So I think I'm going to be wearing that, and then just my split shorts that I always wear for races, and I'm going to use the running belt and fully test that over a long period, ready for Manchester.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same as well. I'm going to wear my belt. Not going to take any water with me because there are 6 water stations, I think.
Yeah, there's 3 on each loop, isn't there?
Yeah, so that hopefully will have us covered. But yeah, I think that's pretty much how I'm going. And you need to know how or where to carry things like your camera as well. because for us guys that sort of record the races, sometimes if you haven't practiced with your camera and you run it, like for example, now I'm a changed man now. Now I've started shooting for sort of faster times like 5Ks and 10Ks. I don't do so much talking to camera now because I feel like I can't.
Yeah.
And
I have noticed a lot of yours is now POV from your hat mount, isn't it? Yeah.
I've just realised that I don't know what's happened over the last 6 months. Ever since Manchester, I've just felt like if I'm going to go for a PB now, it just feels really hard compared to, oh, this is quite hard. But now I just think I don't want to waste a breath on speaking to camera, which is sad really, because some of my best videos have been where I've kind of commentated my way through them. So I'm hoping that I don't, this is just a phase. But yeah, I have gotten into a routine of just putting the little, minion cam, as I like to call it. You've got your the hat clip, which is just here. I'm holding it up to the screen, but I realise most of you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, it's a little clip that goes onto your hat, and it's magnetic, isn't it? Because the Insta360 Go is magnetic, so you can attach it to things. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna practice with things like that as well tomorrow, because I've never worn the Insta360 for anything longer than a half marathon. So yeah, that might be quite good to use for tomorrow as well.
So are you going to have both the head mount and your GoPro as well? Or are you just going for the one camera?
I think I'm going to take the whole unit with me, because the Insta360, the one that I've got, comes in like a GoPro form. It's got like a housing for it. So I'll probably take the whole thing with me. And what I've been doing lately is doing the befores and after speaking on the actual GoPro, because I just prefer the quality of it. And then the race stuff with this. But I've been finding that this Go 3, the battery for anything longer than, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes or something like that, when I'm out and about with it, it seems to just die. So I'm going to take...
Yeah.
Because the good thing is about this thing, I don't work for this company, by the way. I'm not trying to sell them. But when you put the camera into the housing, it charges it. So from every time you detach it and you film yourself, you put it back into it, and it will take the battery back up to 100%. So that's something that I'm going to do. Take that with me tomorrow.
See, the Insta360 Go 3, which is what you've got, is very different to the one that I've got, the Go 2. So, it's got the housing that's like a GoPro, and it's got a screen on, hasn't it? And your battery life and your recording time when it's out of the housing is incredible. Like, I asked you a while back, I was like, how do you manage to do all of your like sped up shooting? Do you put it on the like time lapse setting? And you were like, no, I just filmed the whole of Parkrun and then just speed it up. But on mine, if I tried to do that, I wouldn't get past probably 5 minutes of shooting before the camera overheated and stopped working.
Yeah, it's annoying, isn't it? Because it depends what sort of character you are as well. Because I know that I would get in a mood if I ran out of battery after 5 minutes, or if I realised I hadn't cleared the memory card, or if I hadn't formatted the card and I run out of space, or something that meant I couldn't record. It's just the way that my brain works, I guess, because I'm part of me does go out to do. It sounds sad, but goes out to do these races to record them. It's not it's not the reason I do it. It's just become something that I take my camera with me because I enjoy doing it.
Yeah. It's the documentation of what we do. Yeah. It's
So if I start, get 10 minutes into a race and it's 3 hours long, then I'm going to be a bit miffed. But that again, that's what tomorrow's for, because especially on a big goal race, especially one that I've been talking about for 16 weeks, the way I like to shoot and make my videos is I like to take everybody with me, whether that's on the head and do a voiceover or speak to camera, or that, some people just say, right, I'm going to go on the start line now and I'll see you at the end. That's fair enough. That's just a style. That's carrying a camera is extra weight. Not everybody would want to do that. So I understand why people wouldn't do that. But the way I do it and the way we approach it is very similar. So yeah, we've just got to deal with the extra weight. And let's be real as well. These things aren't very heavy. They're not too bad, are they?
No. But yeah, with mine, as I say, it's not the battery life necessarily. It's just the recording time. I can't record over 5 minutes because the camera has a bit of a fit. Like especially when it's hot. When it's really hot, a couple of minutes of recording, the camera gets super hot and just stops working. So I like to shoot in short little bursts, just when it takes my fancy that I'm going to press record, I press record. But I keep it in the holder on mine. I don't ever take it out. Number one, because I'm not a big hat wearer, so I don't really have anywhere to clip the hat clip or anything like that. And number two, the case on mine is so convenient to hold. It's got its own like little handle built in because it's a clamshell and opens up. Let me grab it and show you.
Because for mine, when I'm doing my, occasionally when I'm tired or something like that, I'll accidentally put my hand over the microphone because I have to take it out of the equivalent of the clamshell. And it's like, you watch it back and you think, I've basically just muted this whole section because I've got my thumb over the mic. So yeah, your setup, both setups are good. They're just very different.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Because I haven't got a screen on mine, so mine is basically looks like an AirPods case, but it just opens up and the camera is inside the top bit, so it comes out. So you can put it on the hat or whatever, or attach it to anything. But I like to keep it there because the controls to start recording are on the case. So I can just hold it and use my thumb to press the record button and just point it or hold it wherever I want, which is really convenient. Whereas if it was the block like you've got, holding it like that or holding it to try and record yourself whilst it's in the thing is a little bit awkward.
Yeah, and especially when you get tired as well, when you're on mile 18 or 25 or whatever, and you've got to remember to do all these things, to not put your hand over the microphone or to put your hand not in the way of the lens. It takes practice, doesn't it? And that's why we do take them to all these races. And
exactly,
it becomes second nature after a while. But I still make a lot of mistakes. That happens all the time.
I changed the setting on my camera not so long back, and I didn't realise. Filmed Parkrun, and I did like 2 second like
time lapse.
Yeah,
I saw, yeah.
You probably saw that on one of the videos. Yeah, and I didn't even realise I'd pressed the wrong button. I even did it on my Sunday long run this week. So I did my half marathon time trial instead of Droitwich, and I was just coming to the end of the distance, and I started filming. And I must have pressed the button to stop recording and didn't realise, and thought I'd filmed all of the last bit of the last mile and the last 0.1 of a mile, filmed all the bits, stopping or watching everything, looked at my camera and it wasn't recording. So,
Well, did you watch Nick Bester's thing? His latest video, or one of his latest videos, he did a parkrun where he started at the back and he tried to finish position 1.
Yeah.
And I think he ended, well, I won't give you any spoilers in case you want to go and watch it. But I don't know if you know, but he has someone that sort of follows him who's on rollerblades or roller skates.
Oh, okay.
So they're not even cycling, which is what I thought they did. So when he's doing his Dulwich, is it Dulwich Park when he does it, which is the fast one where the fast cats go. And he was doing that and he was sending it as well. He was like 3-minute Ks. What his last K was in the 2s. And at the end, see, this is the difference between me and Nick, because his videographer, the guy on the rollerblades, thought that Nick had handed him a GoPro that was filming, but it wasn't rolling. So his cameraman was following him for the whole 15-minute parkrun, and it wasn't even rolling. So they had a bit of a giggle about that afterwards. But what I was going to say was, what I couldn't imagine is watching Nick Bester try and speak to camera while he's doing, one of these all-out 5Ks, because he's doing them in 15 minutes, isn't he? Something like that, maybe even below. And I don't know. I find it now. I'm finding it really tricky to speak. Well, you shouldn't really be chatting and having a conversation really at those paces, should you? So that's probably why you keep it short and just do a brief check-in. But when you're at sort of marathon pace and below, you can sort of have more of a conversation, I guess, can't you? But do you think that you waste energy when you're speaking to camera, or do you not really feel it?
Probably do, but that's part of what we do. I mean, so many people have said to me, you'd run so much faster if you didn't hold up that camera and didn't try and talk halfway through. But that's what I like doing. So why I'm not going to cry about 3 seconds faster on a park run just because I was talking to the camera halfway around.
And it gives your video a bit of substance. It gives it a bit of style. It gives it a bit of heart and soul. I think that you take. I mean, subject to like being actually allowed to film. Yeah. Like it shows, if anyone's thinking of doing, let's just say, a race, it shows what the course is like. It shows someone might even just say, "Oh, that was me." That happens all the time. "Oh, that was me in the background at 12 minutes or whatever." And it's like people watch these and they see themselves because they probably didn't realize we were filming at the time and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool as well when people say, "Oh, that was me. You ran past or ran past you or whatever."
It's like in your latest one, there's a guy behind you at Nottingham who throws his rubbish in the bin, manages to get it in the bin. And he's like, yeah. And then realizes you're filming and going, I got that on camera.
That was brilliant. Yeah, he even wrote on Strava, he was like, "I'm so glad you recorded that." Because I even watched it in slow motion and zoomed in on my edit, and he got it straight in like swish. Didn't even hit the backboard or anything, went straight in. I'll tell you why he was holding a bottle top, because we went through the 5K split, and that's where the water station was. This was in reference to my Nottingham 10K that I did last week or the week before. And we went through the bottle station, and the guy in front of me changed his mind last minute and went for a different bottle because he missed his bottle, and I'd already chosen who I was going to, because when you're at pace, you don't get a second chance really, do you? And I was going downhill, so I didn't want to run back up it. And I'm only going to have a swig of water, so I'm not really that. I was over it. I was happy to miss that bottle station if I did, but I ended up missing this bottle because someone else sort of took the one I had my eye on. And this guy called Jake, who I'd been speaking to on the start line, who's running a very similar time to me, he had his swig and he's like, "Oh, do you want a bit of mine?" Like Sifan Hassan style. I was like, "Oh yeah, cheers, mate." So yeah, I ended up having a bit of his water, and I chucked it in the bin. And then he was like, about a kilometre later, he's like, "I've still got this." I said, "I've still got this this bottle top," and I said, "It's a little bit like that film Inception. It's like a totem." I said, "If you just keep it, it stops you thinking that you're in a dream world." So, but he ended up chucking it in the bin. But no, he was a good lad, and I'm really pleased for him that he got his litter in the bin.
Yeah, that was wicked. That was really good. What's your training been like this week? How's training gone?
Good. Not massively tired at this point in time on a Friday, which I mentioned before, which is quite nice. Because the last 2 or 3 weeks I've been doing 20 milers or 16, 17, 18 milers on the Wednesday. But this week I've got it in front of me. Monday I did a hilly 10K, which wasn't that bad. It was nice and chilled, really. I just had a little plod on the Malverns. Thursday again, which was yesterday, did a 10K just around town. And then Wednesday I did a double day. So I did a 10K to start the day off. And then I did a interval session. But as we were talking last week, or was it the week before, about speed sessions, I took the advice of yourself, and can't quite remember who it is that wrote in and said about walking recoveries being great and all that, but you could be building up lactate and lactic acid. And a good way to try and shift it and not let it build up and keep a steady, keep your efforts steady on your ons is just to jog your recoveries. You might not thank yourself at the time because it feels like your body's screaming at you. You want to slow down. You want to, you've just done 2 minutes or whatever of full pace. You want to walk, especially when you're me as well. That's what I do. That's what I usually do. But no, I thought, no, I'll be stubborn. I'll run every recovery. And I just jogged them really, really nice and slow. I didn't care about pace. I wasn't looking at the data for the offs. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't walking.
That's not necessarily what they're for. It's not for hitting a pace when you're doing the recoveries. It's just to keep your legs moving. So
yeah. And I looked at the data afterwards, and it was really good. I was really pleased with it. And one thing I did notice though is that I did struggle to. did struggle to get going. I didn't really enjoy the speed session, to be honest. But one thing I noticed looking back is, if I just hold this up to screen, is my efforts actually progressively got faster.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So my eighth, because I did 8 times 2 minutes on, 1 minute off. My graph is sort of got an upward curve. So my fastest rep, I think, was my last one. Didn't quite hit the sub 20 pace, 5K pace that I wanted to hit, but I put that down to just having heavy legs and being in marathon training basically. But I just thought it was important to just try and do a speed session. It's a couple of seconds, so I won't lose sleep over that. And I was glad that I did the walking recovery. So that was probably, I guess, the highlight of my week so far.
Good. So what has this week been? It's been a bit of an easier week, hasn't it, for you, rather than
so far. I mean, I am in the first week of my peak because I'm in week 11 now. Last week was my deload week where I dropped the mileage down 5 mile, 3 mile. This week I've gone back up above where I was. Well, by the end of this week anyway, that I will be. It will be my biggest week so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, so largely, I mean, when I run on the hills, when I run on the Malverns, I'm running to effort really rather than pace. So I was, running up the hills. I wasn't walking up them. So technically it wasn't an easy workout. It was still quite challenging in places.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday's session, it was in it on the double day. I'm not quite Jakob Ingebrigtsen, so I didn't do a double threshold. I did, it wasn't even a single threshold because the second one is, is only 8 times 2 minutes on. But the first session I did on the double day was easy. And then Thursday was easy because I've just got one eye on this 20 miler because I didn't want to put too much, I just didn't want to put too much intensity on my legs and my body for the first half of the week. And I've had today off. And yeah, here we are talking about it. So yeah, tomorrow I'm hoping that I can do a 20 miler and it will feel, my legs will feel as fresh as they possibly could at week 11 in training.
Yeah. So, because you've got 2 more weeks before you hit peak week, are you going to gradually increase mileage again for those next 2 weeks, or keep it where you are this week?
Yeah, I did think about, hitting a mileage and then keeping, 3 consecutive weeks capped at a certain mileage. But I thought, no, I'm going to push it. I'm going to push it for an extra 5K, an extra 3 mile each week. So yeah, I'm hopeful that in 2 weeks' time, I'll be at 100K, which would be a really big achievement for me because I've only ever done that, I think, once in my life, which is 60 mile. So to some people that won't sound a lot, but to me, it's a long way. And what I'm finding as well is that I'm finding, especially for my, not even ability, but it's my lifestyle and what my legs can and can't handle. I'm finding that running a big mileage on 5 days, quite challenging. So I think next week I'm going to do a 6-day week. 3rd week of peak, I'm going to do a 7. I'm going to run every day and then go into taper. And then obviously I'm going to be running 4 days, I think, in that first taper week or something like that. So yeah, that's one thing that I'm finding challenging, which is running high mileage with 2 days off.
Yeah.
So that's quite tricky.
Yeah. That's probably a good idea because when you split up that big mileage then over 7 days, 6 next week and then 7 days, it will be less mileage each day. So you aren't having to go out and slog over a long run every single day.
Yeah. So I mean, by the last peak week, I might have to do maybe 2 long runs that week. Maybe 1 20 miler and 1 16 or something like that, and the rest will be easy. I don't know, 10Ks and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just maths, isn't it? And as we all know, not my strong suit. But you basically just feel like blooming Carol Vorderman, don't you? The whole time you're doing these. I mean, one good way, I suppose. I think you told me that you maybe did this or have done this in the past, is that you keep your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Fridays, or whatever you run exactly the same every week, and you could just extend your Sunday long run, and that's where you get your extra mileage because you're running consistently the same route or same level of elevation, so there's no big surprises in there. But I just like to mix it up. I get bored quite easily, so sometimes if I fancy a hilly run, over an hour and a half, and I'll just do a 10K over an hour and a half, I'll do that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just I don't know. That's the way that my brain works. I like to mix things up.
Yeah, at the start of the block, that's a really good way of starting to increase mileage, is keeping your week the same and then just increasing the long run. Because it's nice, a nice way of starting to get your body used to running longer and slowly increasing the mileage rather than like throwing yourself in the deep end straight away. So that is what I did at the start of the block. But I've started increasing everything now, and especially in this last week. So,
well, speaking of this last week, Sunday, as a lot of us locals would know, it was supposed to be the Droitwich Half Marathon.
It was,
which got cancelled and has apparently been rebooked.
Yes, the new date is 30th of June. So that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, that is interesting. But we were having this chat this time last week because you just found out it had been cancelled, I think.
Yes.
And you were like, I don't know what to do. Should I do a hard effort anyway? And I think you said you did, or you were going to do a time trial.
Yeah, so that was my one idea. So I basically, Saturday, I went down to Parkrun and I said, no matter what, I'm still going to run it as if I'm running Droitwich because I don't know what I'm going to do yet. So I went down to Parkrun, and after the Thursday session where I'd pushed it too hard and I told everybody I was going to go easy and then ended up pushing hard. I went down to Parkrun and Pete and Andy were there. And I said to Pete, because he was racing Fradley 10K the next day, I said to him, are you running easy? And he said, yeah, because I'm racing. I said, what's easy to you? So what pace you running? He went, I don't know, just what feels easy. I went, okay, then cool. I'll stick with you. And he went, yeah, I'm going to put the reins onto you and just hold you back. So we pretty much ran Parkrun together, and we came in at 20 minutes and 16 seconds. So it was a nice, steady effort, but not like pushing it. So we weren't running really, really slow, but it was just nice and sensible and kept it pretty much even throughout the whole thing. But yeah, it was a really good.
Is a 20-minute-ish 5K for you just a bit beyond marathon pace?
Yes. So
just slightly faster.
A 20-minute 5K is 6:27 a mile, and my marathon pace is 6:40 a mile.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, quite close. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just a nice, decent Parkrun, and I ended up running there and running back to put mileage in and stuff. And then Saturday night, I continued to look for alternative races, and Bath half was full and not taking any more entries. Where else did I look? Where else was on? There was the Stafford half. And that was full, and they weren't taking late entries. I even emailed them to see if I could sneak in, but no.
Did you say? Did you say? Do you know who I am?
No, I definitely did not say that. And then
we've got a podcast, you know.
I'm putting a good word for you.
Yeah.
And then there was another race fairly local. I can't remember where it was, but nowhere we're taking late entries. So I started looking at 10Ks, and then Fradley 10K, which Pete was running, that was completely full. I've got to say, actually, massive credit to Pete, who actually came first and won Fradley 10K this year. So yeah, so Pete Ball from Bromsgrove and Redditch Athletic Club, fair play to you, mate. You ran an absolute blinder. I think he moved into the lead at about 5K and then just held on for dear life and just managed to bring it in and bring it home. And also in the ladies, another Bromsgrove and Redditch runner, Tamara Freeman, who is Andy, our coach, his wife, Tamara, she came first in the ladies. So we had a B&R clean sweep at Fradley 10K, which is wicked.
That Fradley's up in near Cannock, isn't it? Is it that way?
So somewhere up there,
Lichfield or something, isn't
it?
Yes,
it's near Lichfield, and it's known as one of the fast 5Ks. So they both ran really well. So congratulations to them, and massive shout out to them. But so I tried to get into loads of races, but nothing was happening. The closest race I could find that were accepting late entries was the North Lincolnshire Half Marathon, but that was in Scunthorpe, which is 2.5 hours drive away. And I was like, that's not worth it. Not worth it for a half marathon. And to be honest, I'm quite glad I didn't do it, because watching the Woos video of it, man, those conditions were not great at all. So he ran that really well to run a 120. No, he ran sub 123, didn't he? 122.50 something.
Yeah.
So to run that in those conditions, he ran a blinder. So well done, Will.
Well done, mate.
But so I just decided time trial it is. So I ran up to the town centre as a warm up, and then did some drills and did some strides and stuff in the town centre, and then thought, right, I'm going to run from the town centre. I'm going to follow the Kingfisher 10K route down to the lake, do a few laps of the lake, and then just try and hit mileage of a half marathon and see where I end up. So I said to myself before I started, let's go for somewhere around 123. If I can hit a 123, I'm in a good place for the marathon and that sub 3 time. So 123 would have been 6 minutes 20 a mile. So faster than marathon pace, but you want to on a half marathon for a good effort. So I set off as if I was running a 10K. And did the first mile in just under 6 minutes. I think I've hit 5:58 or something like that for my first mile. But then just sort of set the tone then for the rest of the run. And I was a bit silly because I started a bit later than I should have. I wanted to get out in the morning, but I was up late doing work until like quite early in the morning. So I had a lie in. So I ended up running down towards the lake at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was rammed. So there was loads of people walking down the lake. So I was having to weave in and out of loads of people. At one point, I had a couple of pugs chase after me, and they were just around my feet, and I had to come to a complete halt and stop so the owners could call them back and I could carry on running.
They must have been fast pugs, because you don't normally associate pugs with their...
No, I know.
Greyhound-esque speed.
I was going for it, and they were proper, just like more or less panting their heads off, running along with their little legs absolutely flying.
They both probably had cardiac arrest after that.
I think their cadence was almost as high as mine, to be honest.
You got similar running styles,
But the lake was just mental and packed. And then I decided to do a big lap of the lake where you go out past. So normally Parkrun just runs round the lake, and I decided to go out even further out into Ipsley, because there's a nice hill in Ipsley, and I thought I'm going to put a hill in it no matter what, because I want that extra effort and stuff. So went up the Ipsley Hill by Ipsley Church and ran down through Matchborough. And then when you turn round to come back into the lake, there was a massive puddle that was probably 3 times the width of the path. And then either side was just deep mud. So I was like, I don't want to run through that. I'm wearing my brand new Takumi Sens. So I decided to turn back slightly and go off-roading through the woods. And it was just as muddy through the trees and through the woods as it was if I'd have gone around the puddle. So I almost fell on my face or on my arse several times running through the trees, got back on the path and carried on. And I was checking my watch all the way around, and I wasn't checking my watch. I was just running to effort. I was running at what was a good, hard effort. And every time my watch beeped and the mile marker came up, I was surprised at the pace I was keeping. So I ended up completing the 13.1 mile and hitting a half marathon PB.
Yes.
So yeah, I
Amazing.
was super pleased with that. I managed to
How
run a
how much of a
120
PB was it?
40. So my PB is 121.45, and I ran a 120 40. So 1 minute and 5
Wow.
seconds.
That's massive.
Yeah, so really pleased with that, and that included having to stop for the pugs, included having to run round loads of people
The
in
puddle.
round the lake. It include the off-roading bit. So yeah, I'm well pleased with that. Really happy with my run.
That's because when you planned your route, I mean, I don't think I've ever done, or not for a very long time anyway. No, I don't think I ever have a time trial that's not at a timed event like
Mhm.
Parkrun or a 10K or something. So, did you literally? It sounds like a silly question, but are you planning a route that's nowhere near roads, so you don't have to cross a road or risk a traffic
No.
light or?
No, so
You,
the start of the route, I ran through the town centre, which is obviously pedestrian, but then out onto the road where the Kingfisher 10K goes. And yeah, I was having to navigate islands and roads for the first little bit.
yeah,
But then I ran down into a factory estate where there's not much traffic, so it was okay around that bit.
yeah,
And then ran into the lake. So yeah, a lot of it there wasn't any traffic because it was round the lake or in the
yeah,
town, but there was bits on the road and stuff. So there
yeah.
was, yeah, watching out for cars and stuff, but it wasn't
Cool.
too bad at all. But I'm not claiming that as a half marathon PB because it's not at a timed proper event. It's not a properly measured course. It was just off GPS, which can be way out. So
Yeah.
I'm not claiming it as a new PB. My PB still stands at 121.45.
Well, that's very disciplined of you and very noble, I guess, because most
Yeah.
would, including me, say, "Yeah, it's PB. PB's a PB, mate. Watch never lies."
But no, I'm super pleased with that. It means I'm in a really good place running wise to be able to run that as well on like peak weeks, mileage legs. Yeah, super happy because
Did you?
this
Did
week.
you? Go
Go
on.
on.
Sorry.
No, go on.
Did you know? Did you know the Fission 20 miler tomorrow has a half marathon?
Yes. Yeah.
Is a little bit of you annoyed that you're not entered into that?
No.
Right.
No. Because in my head, peak week should always have the longest run of the block should happen on peak week for me.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where I want my longest run to be, and that's going to be 20 miles. So yeah, I'm happy that I'm doing
Yeah.
the 20
Cool.
miler.
Yeah.
But yeah, this week is peak week, so I've had quite a big week. Yeah, so you messaged me on Sunday actually and said about the my time trial, and you went right. So 20-mile recovery run tomorrow. I was like, you know me so well. So
Yeah.
so Monday I ran up to my shop and then ran home. Well, ran back to the gym, did a bit on the cross trainer, and then ran home. So I did a 17-mile day on Monday. And then Tuesday, I ran down to B&R session, and it was a track session. And the session was, we did 1,600 meters, so basically a mile, because a mile is 1,609 meters.
Right.
So we did 1,600 meters, which is 4 laps of the track.
Yeah.
And then after that, we had 400 meters recovery, so 400 meters jog.
Yeah.
And then we did 3 times 600 meters. So 600-meter effort, and then a 200-meter jog, 600 effort, 200-meter jog, and then 600 effort. And then because we were changing the distance again, we had 400 meters as a recovery jog.
Right.
Then we did 1,600 meters again, and then 400 meters recovery jog, and then 4 times 400 meters with 200 recovery, and then 400 meters recovery before the change of distance, and 1,600 meters again. So it was basically a mile, 3 times 600, a mile, 3 times 400, and then a mile.
Okay.
And I decided that I was just going to keep all of the efforts the same pace. I wasn't going to try and get faster on the shorter distance or anything. I just wanted to keep them about the same. So I was 6 minute mile in base, but I was doing each lap at 90 seconds in the effort, which is around 6 minute mile in. So that session went really well. Really pleased with how I ran that. I really on the money. Pace was pretty much the same on all distances, on all efforts. So yeah, really pleased with that. But I ended up after doing my cross trainer and my S&C and then running home, that was another 17-mile day. I think just over 17 mile. Then Wednesday is always rest day. Thursday, in the lunchtime, I went out for a 10-mile run, which ended up being slightly progressive. Started getting up to steady pace and just over steady pace by the end. And then Thursday evening, I doubled by going down to B&R session. But because of the road relays this weekend, the session was a nice, easy run out with everybody. So nice group run. And we just chatted all the way around, apart from 1 mile in the middle where we did a mile pickup. And I ran just under 6 minutes for that mile. And then the rest of it was just at nice, easy pace, and we were chatting. And then I did my cross trainer and S&C, and then ran home, and that ended up being a 22-mile day. So I am currently on 56 mile for the week.
Wow. So you got a 20-miler tomorrow?
Yes.
Plus maybe a warm-up.
Yeah, and so I'll probably do a mile warm up tomorrow. So probably a 21-mile day tomorrow. So that'll put me on 77 mile. So I'm thinking, because Sunday I'll go out and do some mileage. So I'm thinking hopefully I'll hit between 85 and 90 mile this week for my peak week, which will be the furthest I've ever run in any week ever. So my highest run. My highest mileage was 85 mile in last Manchester block last year. And I hit 84 mile last week. So yeah, I'll be reaching heights I've not hit before. So hopefully I won't break. But I did go for, when I saw Nat at Body Cares today for a sports massage, she was a bit more gentle than she normally is, because obviously I've got a race tomorrow. Whereas a lot of the time she really gets in there and moves it all out, and I feel like I've been hit by a bus. But no, she was a bit more gentle, ready for race tomorrow. So
I did I don't know how you call this, but I did like the action cam when you're filming yourself for having your massage, when you're face down and you can see your face with a little headrest. That was really funny. Yeah, that was good.
But so it's been a really good week, and I've really enjoyed these last few days. So, and touch wood, my body feels half decent. The only thing that feels really on the edge at the moment are my calf muscles. But I think that's just because of extra mileage recently, and because we've moved back onto the track, you're starting to pick up the pace and get more on your toes. And I think it's just putting a bit more load through the calves. So hopefully that'll be all right, and they don't explode like they did last year. Yeah.
Well, hopefully we can give our quads a rest at least tomorrow, because it's supposed to be nice and flat. But we'll see how we're both feeling after 17, 18 mile, because I imagine we'll probably be like, I think I'm done. I think I'm ready for this to stop now. Because that's one thing that I was thinking about as well, because I'm still, I'm a little bit further behind you in terms of, my marathon's 5 weeks away. But if I struggle tomorrow, I've just got to remind myself that it's okay. It's not the race day tomorrow. I've still got 5 weeks left of training. So I'm not supposed to be ready for tomorrow. I'm not supposed to execute the perfect 20-mile run tomorrow. And that's how I'm going to approach it. I'm going to, for the first time ever, I've got to try and get over myself in terms of ego, not reel people in on the last mile, and just remember that it's just, keeping my watch as my best mate tomorrow. And just keep my eye on the pace.
I think the thing that's playing with your head is probably the fact that it's an organised race. Because if you were going out tomorrow or Sunday just for a 20-mile training run, you wouldn't be worried at all, and you wouldn't be worried if you were struggling at the end or anything like that. It's just because it's an organised race and you've got a number on your front of your singlet. It's going to feel a little bit different, but it's a training run at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good fun, I think.
Yeah,
but I was going to say, shall we move on to a few comments from our awesome listeners?
Yes, why not?
Big shout out to those of you that have emailed. We have
can you believe it?
Emails. 5! I can't believe it. So yes, it actually does work. Saying our. In fact, I was inundated because I think yesterday we had 2 emails in one day. I was like, this is too many. This is too much.
So just in case anybody wants to add to that, our email address is runningtheredlinepod@gmail.com.
Should we put a do not reply? Should we just make it into a do not reply? So we don't get it. We don't get the email. But drop us an email and let us know a question or anything that's on your mind.
Or in the YouTube comments or on Instagram. We are also on Instagram as well. Not that we post on there very often.
Yeah. Yeah, mate, if you sell sports bras, let us know.
Yeah.
Do you remember that when we were getting touted for modelling their new activewear for ladies?
For your jiggy bits.
Yeah, for me, basically. It's all for me. Non-taken. So we've had a few people write in. The first of which was from friend of the podcast, and I've always wanted to say that, Mac Ashworth. So he says, Big Mac is he's doing Manchester for the second time.
Yes, we are going to see
he'll
him
be up there with
Manchester.
And Mac has been in a couple of my videos, so hopefully if you see him, if you recognise him, say hello. Tell him to slow down because he's probably gone off too fast. He said, with you both recently having fantastic races, Manchester Marathon for Brett and Worcester Half for Andy, a clear big 2023 performance highlights, I want to know about the bad and the ugly. What was your worst race and did you learn anything from it? Over to you.
Oh.
I've got 2 in mind straight away for me.
Yeah.
Warwick Half Marathon, Alton Towers.
Go on then. I'm going to have a think whilst you're telling us about.
I'm relatively plain sailing when it comes to my races. They seem to either go. I seem to slightly miss. If I swing, I only slightly miss. I don't really seem to ever really have. Touch wood, because this all could change tomorrow. Massive disasters. But the first one that springs to mind was when I was at Alton Towers, which is when we were both there. Was I just got the worst bellyache halfway round? Not even that. 2 minutes in, and I thought this doesn't feel right. I didn't do a warm up, so I didn't realise that I needed to go to the toilet because I did that thing where I held it in. And
this was your poo B, wasn't it?
It's my poo B. Yeah, so I got a poo B that day. So halfway round, luckily round Alton Towers, because it's a 2-lapper, there's the Portaloos. So I did the death dash where I had to go down like the muddy middle grassy bit. That's where all the toilets were. And that was like in my Takumis, as you found out last week. That was not an easy feat to do that. So then I had to dash to the toilet, sort myself out. I was back on track, and probably the quickest poo I've ever had in my life. It was only about 2 minutes, and I still managed to come in with 1:47. So I was mega pleased with that. And then the other ugly one I did was just the last race, the last half marathon I did, which is in February, which is Warwick, which was a very similar story, except I didn't think I needed to actually go to the toilet, which is a bit of a recurring theme here. But I think I had bad wind or gas rather than I just needed to actually, go to the toilet. But yeah, so what have I learned from it? I have learned to not stuff my face the night before. So I've tried today not to eat too much, and I've tried to stay hydrated, and I've tried to, I've tried just not to carb load, inverted commas, because I always thought the more carbs you take on, the better chance you have of surviving a race. So that's probably what I've learned.
Yeah, the carb load should really be in the 3 days, maybe a week leading up to the race rather than the night before.
Yeah. I just eat that 2 weeks worth in one meal. I'm fine, ready to go. I walk in looking like 8 months pregnant. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I think thinking about bad races, I can't think of any recently, like in the last couple of years, where I've felt really. I mean, there's ones where I've started off and felt like absolute death, and then started to feel better as the race went on because I've warmed up. But I think the races that have gone really bad in the last year or so is the first Alton Towers half that we did together in what was that 2022.
Yeah.
And a few weeks before that, the Redditch Kingfisher 10K, when it's first running, because both of them I managed to go the wrong way and run completely the wrong route. So in the Kingfisher 10K, we got to a point in the road. I was in about 7th place, I think. And the two guys that were right up the front had the bike in front of them, who was leading the way. So they knew the way to go. And then everyone from 3rd to about 9th, we all got to a point in the road and there was cones all the way across the road. And there was a car parked sideways by the cones. And obviously there was a marshal there, but he was round the side of his car. So we didn't see the marshal and he didn't see us. So because the road was completely coned off, we just turned right and went up through the underpass. And we should have gone up straight on through the cones. But there was no signage to say go straight on through the cones.
So was that like do not enter if you're in a car? Was that what it was? The road was closed to cars.
Yeah, basically.
How are you supposed to know that?
Exactly. It was coned off, so we just turned off. And I learned a lot from that race because I had a little bit of a stroppy pants moment. I sort of threw my toys out the pram and decided that I would just jog to the finish, even though I'd gone the wrong way and hadn't run the full distance. Whereas some of the others turned back and went back down the hill that we'd just run up, and carried on and did all the extra distance. So they ended up doing more than the 10K race. Whereas, I had a stroppy pants moment. So I learned a lot from that of no matter what happens, look, mistakes happen. You've just got to get on with it. And yes, you might not get the time you wanted, but that's the way it is. Yeah. And then a few weeks later, we went to Alton Towers and a marshal sent me the wrong way again. So I ended up running.
That was really bad though, that one, because he literally went, you that way.
Yes. So basically I was coming back round to go back into the park. So to start the second lap. And there was a marshal on the corner. It was like a crossroads. And the 5Kers and half marathoners that were coming out of the park on their first lap, he was shouting at them and saying, right, 5K straight on, half marathon up the hill. And I was coming back up the hill to turn back into the park. And as I turned to go back into the park, he looked at me and went, I said half marathoners up the hill. So I turned around and went, and just turned round, ran back on myself and ran up the hill. And it wasn't until I'd got to the next marshal that I realised there was no other half marathon runners where I was.
No bibs, you realised.
And I asked them and they went, oh yeah, you've gone the wrong way. So I ended up running another 1.5 miles in that race. But because I had to turn back and go back and run the right way. But because I'd done Kingfisher and had such a stroppy moment, I kept my head and went, right, that's just the way it is. So went back and did the extra 1.5 miles and all was good. I still had a good race, still had good fun.
Yeah. Fair play. So the next one is from Vince Blissett. He wrote in and said, guys, really enjoyed the pod. Thankfully, it seems to have stopped increasing in length each week, though. Hang on. Well, let's just wait and see what happens in the next half an hour, Vince. Anyway, listen to this week's and Andy's dilemma about going for 3 hours 30 is not remarkably or not is remarkably similar to mine, but in reverse. Then straight after you mentioned to email in, so I thought I would. I'm doing Brighton and was aiming for 3:30. However, I don't have the time for the volume that I want or need. But that's fine. I knew it would be the case. Plus, I was ill for a bit and that set me back. Managed a 31-mile week once, but generally I'm in the 20-25 mile a week range. Did a 1 hour 40 half 2 weeks ago, relatively comfortably, but it's not gone great since then, so reluctantly pulling it back. Ultimately, I've not done enough 30 to 20 milers, so going into the unknown in the second half and the cautious approach is the one that's going to work best for me. Everyone is different, and I'm sure Andy will choose the right strategy, but nobody will be bothered by the finishing time, or shouldn't be anyway. It's all in your own head at the end of the day, but I will be disappointed not to... No, sorry. But will I be disappointed not to achieve what I'm capable of? Maybe, yes. Will I let that get to me? Maybe for a bit. But will I have given it my best shot in the circumstances? Yes. My advice would just be to have realistic targets, do your best, try to have fun and see how it goes. Anything else is a bonus.
Yeah.
I think, some good nails hit on the head there.
Yeah. Live in the moment. What you achieve on the day is what you will be able to achieve. So yeah, you can't do anything about it. That's the result you're going to have. So if it goes brilliantly, fantastic. If it doesn't, if it goes terribly, you just got to, live with that. If it goes okay, that's fine as well. Yeah, it's just what happens on the day. But whatever happens, we will finish these races. Just like any other race, you'll finish it. There's no dropping out.
No. And it's the struggle, isn't it? It's that saying to yourself that I will survive, basically. I will do this. And that's what I like about running so much, is that it's so instinctual. You're just running from moment to moment and you're getting through it. And one moment can feel good, one moment not so good. So, we had another one
What were you going to say after that? When I interrupted you, what were you going to say?
I think I was going to say exactly that. Like I like how running is just you're moving at the speed of thought. Really, you just literally these thoughts are coming into your head, and you got to try and manage each thought that comes into your head and send it away. If it's a negative thought, try not to let it encompass you and get hold of you. And live in the moment. We had Dave Oakes has asked about tapering. So he said, it's so refreshing. Dave says, really enjoy the podcast, lads. It's so refreshing not having shit sold to you every 3 minutes. If you need any Takumi Sens, then I can tell you where to go to get some Takumi Sens. Anyway, apologies if you already have it planned, but a show on the marathon taper would be really appreciated. Cheers, Dave.
Cool. So, I reckon, we could probably go deep into taper next episode, because obviously you're a couple of weeks away from taper and I will be starting taper on Monday. But just as a quick one on that, because I am starting Monday, I'm doing a 3-week taper. So some people like a 2-week taper. Some people like 3 weeks. It's very personal how you do the taper, but I like to do a 3-week taper. And what I will do during my taper is I will keep the intensity there. So I'll still be doing sessions and I'll still be running at pace, but I'll just drop the volume. So instead of dropping everything and just making everything easy, that doesn't really work for a taper, because you're not giving your body the stimulus you need running up to that marathon. You still need to know that you've got that pace in you and you're working your body up to that moment. It's just about reducing the volume for me, and having fresher legs when I get to marathon day. So I still want that pace in the legs. I just don't want as much volume and as much fatigue in the legs.
I think you told me last year you'd heard, or I don't know if this is a common saying, but you said it's like a triangle. There's like the intensity, distance, volume. I can't think about what the three variables are.
Yeah. So for the taper, shall I tell you where I've got this from?
Go on.
Stephen Scullion was
Ah.
was one of the men that I heard this from. I've heard it from a few people, but he explained it really well. And basically, for a taper, in his idea and his words, is you should only reduce one of three things, and that is volume, intensity, or frequency. So
Ah.
if you are reducing volume, you're reducing the amount of miles, but you're keeping the intensity and the frequency the same. So you're still running the same amount of days and the same amount of times you do per week, and you're still running the intensity, but you're dropping the volume. If you keep the volume high and drop the intensity, you're still running the same amount of days and same amount of times you are running. You're still running the same distance, but everything starts to get a bit easier. Whereas if you drop the frequency, you're still doing the volume, still doing the intensity, but you're doing it over less days.
Right.
So your volume does sort of drop in that frequency one because you're doing less days. So your volume does drop, but you're keeping the volume of each day the same.
I'm with you. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, we can touch on that properly next week, can't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Because that's quite a big, and I'll be hanging on your every word because I'll be tapering a week after that. So our last email was from Rob, and he's got a question about shoes.
Ooh.
So, hi Brett and Andy, been inspired by Andy's channel for a while now. Thank you very much, including signing up for my first marathon, Manchester. Having done parkrun and training for a couple of half marathons before then, this podcast has become essential listening on my long runs in training for Manchester. You're both really relatable, even though I'll never attain Brett's pace. You never know, Rob. You don't know that.
Nope. Actually, sorry, just on that, just to interrupt, I sent it to you, didn't I? As well, the photo that popped up in my memories from 11 years ago. So on Sunday, when I did my half marathon, I did my half marathon time trial
with your splits,
and a photo popped up in my memories of was it the Birmingham half 11 years ago? And 11 years ago, I ran the Birmingham half in 1 hour 36.
Yeah.
And then Sunday, 11 years later, to the exact day, I ran a 1:20:40. So in 11 years, I've dropped 15 minutes.
Wow.
So
yeah,
it's doable. You've just got to put in the effort and put in the consistency. I think that's the main secret for running is consistency. If you're consistent in your training, you'll get consistent improvement.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But Rob goes on to say, my question is, do either of you overpronate? If so, how have you managed your shoe choice? I'm a fairly strong overpronator. So after gait analysis, I went for Brooks Adrenaline GTSs, really liked them, and brought a second pair. But if I wanted something a bit racier, are there any options out there with enough stability, or are you both able to just choose any shoe and run in it? Cheers both. Keep up the good work, Rob.
Right. So I am lucky enough to be a neutral runner. So I can just go for any shoe and run in it. Like he says, the only shoes I stay away from are those stability shoes, which correct over or under pronation. So I don't go for any of those corrective shoes. I just go for all the neutral shoes, which is really lucky because it means I get a huge choice of shoes to choose from. If you are an over or under pronator, though, there is some good choices out there, but he's right. The race shoes are all neutral shoes. And the only way of really correcting those shoes for your gait is to get insoles and corrective insoles that you can put into the race shoes instead of just the thin ones that are in there. Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting one because I'm not sure how accurate some of these over and under pronation diagnosis things are, because a lot of these running shops where you go and run on a treadmill and they take some photos of your feet whilst you're running, I'm not sure how much I trust them, to be honest. I think some people, yes, they do need corrective shoes, and it really helps. As what was his name? Sorry,
It's Rob.
Rob. So as Rob said, he's getting on really well with the Brooks adrenaline that he's running in, and it seems to have cured his issues with his pronation. But a lot of the running shops that you go to and have these gait analysis, the people who are doing them aren't really trained in gait analysis. They're just told, get someone on the treadmill, have a look at how their foot lands, and then tell them to buy this certain shoe. They're not actually professionals in gait analysis. And I think that can be a little bit dangerous, to be honest. Because I have had that in the past. I remember back in, it's probably about 2013, 2014, at the London Marathon Expo, there was a thing where you could walk on these pads, and from walking on it, it sent information to the computer, and they told you how you trod on your feet and what your foot strike was like.
It was like a blueprint of your your heel touched down the outside of your foot, and you could sort of see a footprint, sort of a heat print sort of thing.
But it was from walking, so it wasn't from running, which was, first of all, that's interesting. And then they said that I had a very ever so slight pronation on one of my feet. The other one was neutral, but one of them was slightly pronating. So they suggested I get a supportive shoe. So I bought a supportive shoe. I bought the, what were they called? It was the Ultra Boost, but it had a supportive element to them. So it had a slightly stiffer section of boost in the heel on the one side. So it pushed your gait over to stop you overpronating. And I bought those and did quite a few miles in them, but something just didn't feel right. And from wearing those shoes, I got all sorts of niggles and injuries. And as soon as I went back to neutral shoes, all of those niggles and injuries went away. And it was because somebody who didn't really know what they were doing told me to go and buy a supportive shoe that I didn't need.
Yeah.
So, I think this shoe choice is a really difficult one. I think if you are going to get a gait analysis, you need it done by somebody who definitely knows what they're doing.
You probably need to pay for it.
And that's the problem, is it can be quite expensive. The ones in a running shop are free, but are they always correct?
Because I went to the ASICS shop once, and it was an outlet shop, and the same thing happened to me. I got on the treadmill, or I did some. I mean, they're not going to say, right, get on the treadmill and do a 5K pace for me. So you get on the treadmill and you sort of do a run in between walking pace and interval recovery pace, don't you? It's a you do a really, which is, let's face it, a pace that you don't really run that often.
No, it's a shuffle.
And when you're buying a shoe, especially when you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed as well, you're going to run a lot faster in it. So it's not necessarily a good way to measure yourself for a shoe. And I got my shoes, literally my feet measured, and the guy literally told me to get the size running shoe that my feet are.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 months later, I got an injury. I got a running injury. I was halfway through a run, and I had to get a lift home from Laura because I was literally couldn't bear any weight on it, and it was on the outside of one of my foot, because I think I'm a supinator, which is under pronation. Is it? I don't know which one it is. Supinator is when you sort of hit on your outside of your foot, and I just got this really quite nasty injury, and I had to take at least 8 weeks off. And then the first thing I did was I went and bought some Brooks adrenalines, because I still didn't really know a hell of a lot about shoe choice and stuff. But I knew, right, I've been to two people now, because I went to the ASICS shop and then I went to another running shop, and the second one gave me Hoka's that got me injured. The first one gave me the ASICS. I think gel Kayanos, which are, I think they're stabilities. I don't know, but
Yes. They are. Yeah.
They didn't feel that good. And that guy sized me wrongly. And the second shoe I got, the Hokers, they just gave me this really bad pain. I got some Cliftons from them. And again, I think I got sized incorrectly. So then I kind of worked out, hang on, the way I run, I need to have more room in the toe box. So I'm going to start buying bigger shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start sizing up a complete size, a whole size. And that's what I've done ever since. And I don't really look whether neutral, stability, or what. I don't really. I've got a certain idea of shoes I want to go out and buy. But yeah, I guess to some degree, I don't really suffer too badly with thinking about my gait. Maybe I should give it a bit more thought. But I always think that when you're running a bit faster as well, your gait, it changes a lot, doesn't it? Your form becomes so much better when you're running faster.
Mm-hmm.
So you're probably going to pronate and supinate a lot less when you're running a bit faster. So if you're thinking of a race shoe, yeah, you'll probably need to take a few things into consideration, really. But I mean, I know, like you've always said about your first shoes were Adidas and you've ended up 10, 12 years later, it's still wearing Adidas.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, it might be the same for you. You've got some Brooks. Just stick with Brooks. If you know how they feel, and if they feel good.
To be honest, Brooks makes some great like race day shoes now. They're Hyperion Max and the Hyperion Max Elite and stuff like that. They're some great race day shoes.
I heard really good things about the Ghosts as well. The Adrenalines that I used, I really like them. I've retired them now to like my everyday walk around shoes, but I really like my Adrenalines. So I don't. It's a difficult one because advice is difficult, isn't it? It should be taken with a pinch of salt. And having running shoes is a bit like, princesses kissing frogs. You've got to kiss a fair few running shoes before you find your princely running shoe. You've got to find a few bad ones before you realize what really works for you.
Yeah, I've always run in Adidas, but man, I've had some stinkers of Adidas shoes where I've not been 100% happy with them, and I've not really run many miles in them and retired them. I had a pair of Ultra Boost a while back, and they were the ones. So Adidas built a factory in Germany where the shoe production line had zero human interaction. So the shoes were completely robot made.
Really?
From start to finish. And I bought a pair of Ultra Boost that were in that range. And I'm not sure why it was there, but there was like a bit of a pad underneath the tongue on the Ultra Boost. And because the Ultra Boost are like a sock, there's no separate tongue and all that lot. But where the tongue is, there was like a little pad or something like that. And that kept on rubbing constantly and gave me some awful foot pain. And I just had to stop using the shoes because they were so bad. But yeah, I mean, it is one of those that you've just got to try shoes out. And that's one of the reasons bricks and mortar stores are sometimes a godsend, because you can actually go and try shoes out on the treadmill there and see what they feel like. But also the problem with that is a lot of bricks and mortar stores are supplied by certain shoe manufacturers, and they will push you towards certain brands because they get a bigger markup on them. So it's one of those, isn't it? It's a weird thing of, if you buy online, you get the choice of everything and you can buy what you want. But if you go to a running shoe store, you can try shoes out, but you won't always get the full choice, and they don't always stock everything.
Yeah, you might end up walking out with some Ultras or some 361s or some craft shoes, a shoe that you didn't really know much about.
Now, there's one to be careful of, though. Ultra shoes is a brand to be careful with, because they are zero drop. And zero drop shoes take a lot of getting used to. And if you are not used to wearing zero drop shoes, they could cause all sorts of injuries. So be very careful.
Yeah, I've never worn a pair of them, so I don't really know how they would feel. But I imagine they'd be a little bit like wearing my Fred Perrys that I go to work in. Like they feel like you feel quite connected to the ground, but I imagine you probably would suffer with shin splints, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah,
I don't know.
your heel isn't raised at all. So yeah, you probably would.
So
And it's
what
like
are the benefits of it?
It's and I'm gonna say this. If I have one more advert from Vivo Barefoot on YouTube, I'm gonna go absolutely mental. Man, I see those adverts and yeah, the words that come out of my mouth are not suitable for this podcast at all. But yeah, the barefoot shoes, just ridiculous. What a absolute joke. I'm sure they're great for some people, but for runners, get out of town. Do not be doing that.
Apart from showing off about it, I don't really see any other benefit to doing it.
No.
Saying, "Well, I run a marathon in some Vivo Barefoots."
Yeah.
It's like, well, all right, well done, mate.
But
can't walk tomorrow though, can you? Yeah.
I think the same with Ultra. It's the same idea as the Vivo Barefoot. Of it is more natural because your foot is in a natural position. You're using your foot how it would be if you were barefoot. But Ultras are basically a cushioned plimsoll, aren't they? They're flat, zero drop, but they've got cushion. So that's possibly even worse.
A lot of trail runners, though, will lean towards Ultras, won't they?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've noticed, but Ultras seem to have a really wide toe box. They seem to have almost like a strange shape to the end of the shoe. And I imagine that's because of wearing them on trails, your feet naturally slide around a lot more because you're doing a lot more ups and downs, downhills and things. So maybe it's because of that. But
I mean, that's what they say in those Vivo Barefoot shoes. They say that because they're wider in the toe box, they allow your foot to spread out properly and your toes to actually spread out rather than being constricted by modern shoes. But for running, anyone who, if I see another advert for Vivo Barefoot, I am going to scream.
When's your birthday? I've just missed it, haven't I?
Every single time. But there we go. Anyway, that's definitely a brand I will never accept. If they emailed us or DM'd us and said, "Hey, do you want some free shoes?" I'll be saying
Dave Oaks on them.
No way you can keep those. But shoe choice is very much a personal and trial and error thing, which is unfortunate because it can be expensive. Yeah.
And it can take years to find out what you really like. And you go through phases, you go through trends. Yeah. It's a personal thing, and it's personal for that reason, isn't it? So
yeah. And that's one of the reasons I haven't strayed away from Adidas, because I don't want to, for a race day shoe, be spending 250 quid and then going, don't like these. Yeah. That's 250 quid, which could have been spent on something else.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't sell them. You can't get your money back. And buyer's remorse. Well, I have got a quiz for you.
Yes. Let's go for it.
It's time for Brett's end of the podcast quiz at the end of the podcast. So, as always, 5 questions. There is a connection.
Oh.
I can't take a huge amount of credit for this because I have actually found, because we're running late, I found this quiz. So the questions are hard, but there is a connection between the 5 answers.
Okay.
Not to do with running, though, as always. Where on the body would you find a phalange? Do you watch Friends?
I did when it was on TV back in the day.
There's a little, there's a character called Phoebe who's, she likes the word phalange and she uses it quite a lot in different strange situations. But where on the body would you find a phalange?
That's not the little dangly bit at the back of your throat, is it?
I do believe that's the epiglottis.
Oh, okay. No, all right then.
Could be wrong about that though.
Phalange.
Do you want to come back to that?
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Right. This is another hard one. Okay. How's your Major League Baseball knowledge?
What?
Yeah. You'll like this one then.
Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth. There we go. That's my knowledge.
New York Yankees. What is the name of the Major League Baseball team based in the largest city in California? First of all, what city springs to mind? What's the biggest city in California?
California, LA.
Yes.
Red Sox.
No. That is Boston, I think. And
White
I think
Sox.
no, could be here for a while. No. All right, we'll move on to the next question because you might get it.
LA Dodgers.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Located on the French Riviera on the south coast of France, what is France's fifth most populous city?
The fifth most populous city.
Yeah. Again, once you get the connection, you'll get the answer. For some of you who've just heard Brett's answer to the previous question, you might have already got the connection. I did this. I always do these quizzes on Laura. Just say, like, what do you think about these quizzes?
Mm-hmm. Well,
and
the only thing I'm thinking of is biscuits. So is it? No, that's not France. It's Vienna, France.
Is there a biscuit called a Vienna?
No, a Viennese whirl.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, we can move on to the next question.
No. Okay. So no.
Okay. Next question. How are you with your Italian generals?
Man.
Which Italian general is perhaps best known for contributing to the unification of Italy and the creation of the Kingdom of Italy in 1861? Again, get the connection, you'll get it. Shall I move on? That's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah. When you said these questions are difficult at the start, I was like,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, this is like degree level, like PhD level. Last question. Which character did Danny DeVito play in the 1992 film
Penguin.
Batman Returns?
Penguin. So it is biscuits.
Yes, that is correct. But so see if you can get the rest of the answers then.
Because we've got Jammy Dodgers and penguins.
Yes. What's the French city then on the French Riviera? These probably my favourite biscuits of all time.
Breton biscuits.
No.
No.
They're sugary. They're like rectangular shape.
Oh. Yeah, Nice biscuits.
Yes. Nice biscuits. If you're from
yeah, no, they're really nice biscuits. Them are.
Really, I just thought they were really nice.
Is Nice in France?
Yeah.
Wow, I've learned something new today.
There you go. That's what we do. We educate and inform.
Yeah.
Where on the body would you find a phalange?
What biscuit is that going to be? Man.
Just while you're thinking about it, I did this quiz on Laura earlier, and she got the connection first.
Yeah,
and she was like, and I asked her the LA question, and she was like, "Is it the LA Hobnobs?"
See, I was just about to say, I hope she didn't say hobnob for the first question. Where on your body would you find a phalange? On your hobnob?
On your hobnob? Have you got any ideas?
On your,
can you think of process of elimination?
On your custard cream?
That is incorrect. Shall I give you a clue?
Yeah, give me a clue. Yeah.
It is there is or are more than one of these things on your body.
Oh, your fingers.
Yes.
Yes.
Apparently the phalange is this. There's three of them in each finger. So it's each.
Okay.
And the plural of phalange, or the singular, is phalanx, which is do you remember that in Alton Towers?
Which is the monster from Nemesis. Oh, Nemesis is open now. The Nemesis Reborn has just been opened.
I'm signing up.
Yeah.
So the last one then, by process of elimination.
Yeah.
Which Italian general is perhaps best known for contributing to the unification of Italy? Shall I give you a clue? Lead singer of Take That. Or from the back in the day, Take That.
Gary Barlow?
No, it's not actually. Well, yeah. So the first bit, is correct.
Oh, Garibaldi.
Yes. Gary Barlow.
The Italian general Gary Barlow. Absolutely fantastic.
That was great. That. Oh, that's what we need. Let's unify Italy. That'll be great. We'll get Jason Orange and we'll get Howard Donald down. It'll be great. So there you go. You got the connection.
Amazing. Brilliant. From Dodgers, that my instant thing was, this is going to be biscuits, this is.
Yeah.
But I didn't know any of them.
You did well. You did very well with the Dodgers. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So somebody did comment and say that they can hear your clock whenever we pause for silence. And I think that's actually the cogs turning in your brain, trying to work out these questions. It is. Yeah, listen. So, Jessica, thanks for writing that. It's actually Brett's internal thinking. So I think that's us. I think we are done. So brilliant. Thank you once again for listening. If you are still with us, thank you so much. It really does mean a lot that so many people tune in and listen along or watch along on YouTube each week. It's great and really makes this worthwhile, rather than us just talking to ourselves like we are. But yeah, when people actually listen and respond, it does make a difference. So we sometimes forget that, don't we? Yeah, we do. Yeah. So somebody asked me the other day, they went, so what is your podcast about? And I went, well, it's about running. And they went, obviously, but do you just talk about running? I was like, no, we go off on all sorts of tangents. Yeah, we just waffle on for ages. Yeah. Do you like biscuits? Because ask him if he likes Garibaldi's. Ask him if he likes Gary Barlow. He'll love this episode. But yeah, that is us done for this week. So thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Nice one, guys. Cheers. It's been emotional. See you soon.